soft on crime consequences. I mean, what does that even mean, right? So there's an alternate universe on some coverage.
The White House facing heavy criticism after Press Secretary Jen Psaki appeared to laugh off concerns over rising crime. The head of the largest police union in the country calling out the administration, saying this: "I think it's wrong, very wrong, for Ms. Psaki to suggest that violent crime in our country is of no concern or just to laugh it off. She may feel safe in the White House, one of the most protected buildings in the United States, but not everyone feels safe in their workplace." And a new poll putting Americans at odds with the White House's assessment. Voters saying they're frustrated with how the president has responded to a spike in violence. 64% disapprove of how Biden is tackling crime overall. And now some businesses feel forced to take matters into their own hands. A California jewelry store owner frustrated with local officials after fending off would-be robbers by himself.
Nobody's doing anything. Even just now, I think, they got all the surveillance videos. Then they've been working on them, but haven't heard anything. Nothing happens. I really wanted to reach out to those lawmakers to do something, but nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Jesse, in the Reuters poll, crime is in the top 5 concern of all Americans, actually eclipsing COVID.
Yeah, but the Democrats are like, we're going to save your life from COVID, but you're on your own with crime. I mean, what sense does that make? Right now, Joe's just trying to throw cash at the situation to get out of this. You know those guys in the movies that just take a wad of cash and just throw it in your face and say, here, shut up. Go buy yourself a fleet of new squad cars. And that's what the Democrats do, though. Afghanistan, the public education system, war on poverty. Here's $1 trillion. Now stop complaining. We care because we're spending a lot of money. The Democrats say the Republicans don't care as much as we do. We just want you to take the money and shut the heck up. Right now, you could buy every single officer in the country X-ray vision, a drug-sniffing dog, and have him walk around with a stack of cash to just bribe informants. And it wouldn't do a damn thing because the DA is just going to let guys walk. The dumb laws are just going to let people walk. So until you fix that, throwing cash around is not a strategy. I think the calculation for Democrats is this. They actually think that black voters won't vote for them if they are tough on crime. Like black mothers and fathers like the gunplay. They like the stick-ups in their neighborhood. No one likes that. No one wants that. They want people to be tough on crime, but they also want people to be fair. Why can't Democrats strike that balance? And why are they treating black neighborhoods different than white neighborhoods? Democrats wouldn't tolerate this kind of violence in their neighborhood. That's really disgusting. On COVID, you can't have any risk on COVID. You have to wear a face shield. You have to stay home for days. You have to keep your kids home. But let's roll the dice on crime, right? Let's take an ex-con that's deranged in the head and he shoots up a gas station, but let's let him out with no bail and just run the risk of doing it all over again. Doesn't make any sense, does it?
It doesn't. It does not.
It does
as
not.
As it says in your promo, you know common sense.
That
to
is
speak it
right.
well. I felt bad for the guy that protected himself because he's saying, and they still, even after all of this, it's on video. He protected his store and himself, and he said it still feels like nobody cares.
Nobody does care. Let me say, they don't care until it affects them. Nearly all the victims of violent crime are black, right? And they would be alive right now if it wasn't for the manipulation of the police narratives by the media and the activists, right? So what happened was, just to show you how disconnected the media is from the real world, in the days after these multiple cop killings and shootings, what did CNN run? A special that highlighted police misconduct. This is like right around when the funerals are happening. And what they did is a typical kind of like clip job special where they take isolated incidents, put them together, no stats, and just make it out as misconduct against blacks. It's like the greatest hits for people who hate the police. And the argument was cops should not be pulling over people if they're armed, which obviously would not affect CNN at all because it's not like that's their problem. Everybody who works there is protected with armed security. So if you actually knew a police officer, most of us do, all of us do, you would not have fallen for this anti-police narrative. And I do think the white-collar elitism that you find in the media has separated those people from knowing anybody, from plumbers to cops, not understanding their problems. The essential truth is the people either in this denial or this delusion don't live where the crime is. And their false reporting that it was hunting season on blacks by cops made it worse in the areas where there is black on black crime. There's a study now that showed that Democrats believe that cops killed 1,000 black black people when it was unarmed, maybe between 11 to 2 dozen, I think, averaging over the year. But that's because of the way it was reported. Roughly 50% of the homicides are done by 17 to 15% of the population. The cops need to focus on that area. But now they can't, right? They can't focus on that area, which created more black-on-black crime because they're not there policing. So who caused all this death? Who caused the Ferguson effect or the George Floyd effect now? Who caused that? Who caused the cops to retreat from the areas where they were needed most? It was the media. It was Black Lives Matter. It was the activists. And now you have thousands of black people who are dead that shouldn't be dead, and it's on their doorstep.
And interestingly, that when you mentioned the police officers, that we had a young woman on from the police department in San Francisco. She'd been there for, I think, 25 years. She decided to leave. One of her big complaints when she left is that the DA out there, Chesa Boudin, has basically that somebody in his office is withholding evidence about an officer-involved situation, Officer Stengel's case, and they're calling for the complete misconduct by the DA because they're not protecting the police officer.
Well, you know, there's no surprise. When you've got rogue prosecutors who are funded by George Soros, their whole mission is to release the criminals. They have no interest in protecting the victims. And if the victim happens to be a police officer, then it's an even worse situation. You know, just let this guy ignore everything that has to do with it, with his situation. But I think what's amazing about Jen Psaki and the Democrats is her response to that initial, you know, these people are in an alternate universe. She says that there was $350 million in the American Rescue Plan, and the Washington Post gave it 3 Pinocchios when she said that money could have gone to police and not one Republican voted for it. Here's your response to that. Your response to that is that money wasn't earmarked for police. It could have been used for any one of a number of things, and police were not specifically mandated to receive that money. That's number one. Number two, what we've got now is we've got Merrick Garland is coming to New York City, I understand, tomorrow, along with the Governor Hochul and the president. And they're all going to come in and say, we're going to take care of you all. We're going to protect you all. Nonsense. If you remember, Merrick Garland is the guy who came out and said, yeah, those parents are domestic terrorists. Here, FBI, I'm going to sick you after those domestic terrorist parents. Then you've got the Hochul who says, yeah, to the DA Bragg, the new prosecutor, is not going to be tough on crime. She says, yeah, you've got to be tough on crime. But then she goes wink, wink to her legislative friends in Albany. No, we're not going to change any of the bail laws. So we're going to let them out loose. So the Democrats want them out. That's part of their agenda.
If they're coming tomorrow, Geraldo, they will see that the second funeral for the NYPD Officer Mora, yep. He will be laid to rest tomorrow, and that funeral will happen around, I think it starts at 10 a.m. And then Thursday, the president is coming here. I guess he says he wants to deal with gun issues. He'll be in an appearance with Eric Adams, who's the new mayor. Do you think that Eric Adams will say something to him about the progressive prosecutors?
I know that Eric Adams likes Joe Biden. I think that Eric Adams is pleased that the president is coming here, as I am. I give them the benefit of the doubt. I think that his coming here is a good signal. They're also going to a crime-riddled neighborhood in Queens, I believe. So I think that's good. I think that the deaths of these 2 officers, Mora and Rivera, will be a seminal moment historically. I think that this is where the defund the police movement died. This is where cops were, again, the virtuous friend of the family. And I am deeply moved by their families and how they have spoken. I'm proud of the city. I'm proud of them. And I think that they really have changed things. I just want to say one thing about the self-defense shopkeepers. Mm-hmm. When I was a young reporter in this town, it was very common in bodegas in the neighborhoods I knew best, where a guy would be hired, he'd be behind the counter or in the back room, he'd have a shotgun, and if something like this came in, he would come and fire off and above the heads. But this kind of nonsense would not happen, even in the city when it was really riddled with crime when we were over 2,000 homicides a year. I want also to remember what I've said about technology. I think the way to beat this creepy trend is technology. There should be the explosive dyes that they have in money in the banks. Every one of these jewelry stores should be, the counters should be wired so that they have this exploding thing. Sirens should go off. We can't let them come in and fill their bags and leave because success just breeds more crime.
You're right. And we had these videos, and it was like God sending us evidence when it happened. But now we've got prosecutors who won't even prosecute the case. They won't even look at the videos.
Well, I think that I would like very much for the President of the United States to say something.
Look at the video.
Out of character, say something about, you know, if someone comes in and uses a gun in a robbery, that person is going to jail for the robbery and the gun, and that's it.
That would be changing the policy, which is what they've said they haven't done. But if they do, okay, we'll welcome it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.